welcome to the Cliffhangers and Cocktails podcast with Amy Sissel and Shea McLeod. This is brought to you not only by us, but by the Caftan Coven. And thank you for being here today as our very first official episode.
Yes.
And Mrs. Shea is so excited.
I know.
About it.
I can't believe it. We have a pilot episode. Like, I feel really fancy.
That is really fancy, 100%.
Yes. Well, I am Shea McLeod, and this is Amy
Amy Sissel.
Sissel, and we're both USA Today best-selling authors of paranormal women's fiction, among other things. And we want to welcome you today to the Cliffhangers and Cocktails podcast, and where we talk about books, drinks, and general shenanigans.
The shenanigans are my favorite part.
Absolutely. Also hijinks. And general malarkey.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, going forward with our hullabaloo.
Absolutely. We decided to start each episode with a manifestation or an affirmation, I should say. And so the one that I chose for this, our pilot episode, is I open my heart and mind to receiving a prosperous and positive life for me and those I love. I thought it was really good way to start the year, right?
That is a fantastic way to start the year. And I mean, this podcast has been in the back of our heads moving forward for a little while.
Yeah.
We've been talking about
years, if not longer.
We've been talking about it, yeah. Pandemic brainstorms happened.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm not saying wine was ever involved.
Oh, we would never wine with podcast.
No. That's not what this Cliffhangers and Cocktails thing is all about.
No, I absolutely do not have booze in this mug.
It's just a very tasty mug of cocoa.
Mm-hmm. Which we'll talk more about later.
Oh. It's hot and not like warm. So when we first started talking about this podcast, one of the things that we were both really interested in bringing out there is more discussion about paranormal women's fiction. And because we both write fantasy and we've both written paranormal women's fiction, which is paranormal books where the main protagonist is a woman over the age of 40.
Yeah.
And I write a lot of books where the woman is over 30 or over 40. But you don't see a lot of that older woman protagonist getting attention. And it's more now than it was, but it's still like it's hard to find something that really is focusing on what are older women doing? Like, we're both not older per se, but
we're old enough.
I have a dedicated tweezers on my desk for chin hairs that I find during the workday. Like, that's my age.
And I am on the age of, hey, doctor, can you please give me a patch that will stop hot flashes?
So, yeah, we have a vested interest in this age group and the paranormal, I guess. Mm-hmm. And so, like, one of the natural, I think, segues from paranormal fiction to the paranormal is, like, the general witchery that we both, like, when we first met, we're like, oh, yes, let's talk about magic and kind of how that witchy stuff goes.
Yes.
And since we did talk about this over many, many a booze, it's just like, I'm not saying that books and booze and booze, like ghosts, is like our like entire personality.
Right.
But it's like three huge things that not only do we have in common that we find very interesting, but that is fun to bring together into a single podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, because I have many other interests. These are just three of I can't think of them right now.
Interested in?
I can't think of any right now.
I mean, we've been friends for a while.
And you've literally never heard me say anything about anything except books, booze, and booze.
I'm sure you must have.
I must have at some point. I also really like food.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, but food is not really, I mean, who knows? We might do some kitchen witchery besides booze at some point, but
That seems likely. That seems likely.
so yeah, we just decided if you're like, hey, let's do a podcast. And I'm like, okay. And it took a while to actually, I think we kind of got the idea together pretty quickly about what we wanted to do, but it took a couple more years before we were ready to do it, just because life and stuff.
Life and stuff for sure. And it's kind of funny because a few months ago, I was like, you know what? I think it's time to like bring this out to the forefront. And I texted Shea and I was like, hey, I think we should do this. And like you were like, oh yeah,
Okay,
I was
yes.
thinking the same thing.
Yeah, I was like,
So
because I'd literally been thinking about like, I think it's about time that we probably started that podcast. And then you're like, hey, and I'm like, hey, great minds and
a lot of hay. We made a
a
lot of
lot.
hay.
We made much hay.
Much
So
hay.
yeah, over the past few weeks, we've been doing like little YouTube lives and like interviewing some folks for the podcast. So we are hoping that you're going to really enjoy all the stuff that we're going to be bringing to you. So over
Got
the
some
next few weeks.
exciting interviews coming up.
Yeah, we have
Um,
had some fun interviews with some really cool women. So um, I'm really excited about. We're going to try and bring a little bit of diversity to. We've got authors who are neurodivergent, disabled authors, um,
queer authors.
queer authors, authors of color. So I myself fall into the disabled author category, which is I've been struggling with that for the last 3 years and learning to live a new way with my disability. So that might pop into the conversation from time to time.
And I am here to be completely open with the fact that I also have a disability. Mine is mental. That sounded really weird when I said that. I'm a crazy. I'm always very open about my mental illness. I have bipolar, and I also fall into your LGBTQ author camp.
Mhm.
Not all the
So
letters at the same
we
time, though.
we are that would be I feel like that would be a lot of work to do all the letters.
Yeah, it really would.
So
I don't have that in me.
I don't think you could. I don't think that's it. But yes, so we are diverse and we are trying to bring more diversity into this space and focusing particularly on older women because for a long time we've been older women are kind of been invisible. So, and we're not dead yet. We're here and we have things to say and wisdom to teach, I think.
And I think there's just such a huge space for being able to talk about the experiences
Mm-hmm.
of women our age,
Yeah.
women of a certain age,
Mm-hmm.
because, like you said, so often, women, like perimenopausal, menopausal women, have been very much kind of invisible, and
Yeah.
that means the things that are important to us are invisible as well.
Yeah.
Um, and the way we live and menopause is invisible. So
Mm.
there's
Yeah.
a lot to talk about, I think,
Absolutely. I
even
agree.
outside of the world of books and booze and booze.
So that sort of segues us right into our first topic of the podcast, which is basically like just what are witches? What is magic? And why are well, we already talked about why we're including this because that's what we're into. But how do we define those things? Yeah. So witch versus Wiccan. We were talking about this earlier, and it was like, I have heard so many times people use those two things interchangeably but in fact, Wicca is a practice. It's a religion, is a religious practice with very specific uh, ways of expressing the spiritual beliefs. Witchcraft is not a religion at all. It's just a practice. So not all witches are Wiccan. Witches can be any religion. I've known Christian witches, I've known Wiccan witches, pagan witches. I knew a Buddhist witch. I've known atheist witches. So you could have no religion at all. And in fact, I was just kind of looking this up a little bit, doing a little bit of research, and the word witch, when traced to its historical origins, most historians agree it literally just means wise person or wise woman. And so, simply put, a witch is someone who puts intention, energy, and belief into what they bring into this world. And historically, the word witch has just been used to oppress women who are intelligent, outspoken, independent, um, women
Or,
who, yes, or women who had a skill, women who it was actually even used against wealthy women to take their property.
mhm.
It was against poor women so that they could be scapegoats. And so I think in this modern day, like we're just kind of taking that power back of, we're, this is our power. This is our power of being these wise women. And in, instead of it being something negative that the world has put on us.
Well, I think that we're like again really poised in a perfect spot for this, just because we are entering like the maiden mother crone is very much a Wiccan construct, and it's
Right.
more of a modern retelling of how practices were.
Yeah.
But like we're moving away from mother era into crone era.
Mm. Hmm.
And like with that, it kind of it brings you like that life experience and that wisdom, that
Hmm.
wise woman stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
We're cool.
And so that we can share with other women who are coming up behind us. And so it's like just because a lot of I think a lot of people have this mistaken idea that witchcraft is simply about believing in these gods or goddesses or you know whatever, but that's not necessarily the case that that you believe in, you know, what I don't know, Aphrodite, whatever, you know. I certainly don't ascribe to that myself. Um, we were talking about it. Kind of almost more like quantum physics is kind of starting to explain how the world works and how our thoughts become things, how our emotions, how we can literally sort of manifest things through our own uh, through our own energy, and that's kind of the direction that I go, rather than something more religious aspect.
Well, and I'm the same way. I would describe myself as an almost atheistic witch. I believe very much in like that there's energy,
Hmm.
and I mean we know there's energy.
Yeah.
That's physics, and energy and mass can interchange and they can affect each other. And I'm not going to go full Einstein because I don't understand it. And I don't want to sound I just said I was a wise woman. I don't want to sound like a dumb woman now. So
Mm.
I'm not gonna talk about things I don't fully understand. But I feel like I know that there's energy out in the world and that we leave energy, we leave traces of ourselves wherever we go. And I believe that that energy is and like you said with quantum physics, that energy is something that we don't fully understand how it works, how manifestation works, but they're closer. Like there's places where you can see how it works that aren't considered to be the woo,
Hmm.
and it translates very easily into the woo. And for those
Hmm.
of you not watching on YouTube, I was doing a whole lot of air quotes there. So
And it's, from a Christian perspective, growing up in a Christian background, like laying on of hands and praying and people being healed and so forth, it's kind of along the same lines. It's your faith is affecting that energy. And uh just doing it from with witchcraft. It's just doing it through the natural world and connecting to the natural world in that way. And like I said, I have actually known Christian witches who combine the two and into just a really beautiful expression of their faith. And there's some of the wisest women that I've met, just really grounded. So you can be, any religion you want to be and still be a witch, or like I said, no religion at all. So when we're talking about witches, we're talking about witchcraft, not Wicca. Basically, we're just talking about, basically witchcraft is just energy affects things, and we're just putting our energy out into the world. So,
Yeah.
one of the things that is very energetic is the stones that we wear. Today I'm wearing a dendrite stone, which is like a very grounding crystal and sort of gives you confidence for positive changes. So, and I like it. It's really pretty.
Well, and I am wearing, as always, I have a beautiful black obsidian necklace. It's full moon with like two crescent moons on either side. So it does, it is a very pagan symbol. Um, but it's the moon. The moon affects us and everything. And
Yep.
obsidian is very much a stone of protection and
Mm-hmm.
strength.
Mm.
And I always need those things.
Don't we all? So,
All right.
so
Oh,
talking about the moon, tell me about the
yeah.
wolf moon. We're right about that time,
Yeah.
aren't we?
Well, yeah, when this podcast comes out, it will be within 12 hours ish or
Ooh.
so the first full moon of 2025. On the West Coast of the United States, where Shaya and I are, I think it's about 1 p.m. on the 13th. This is coming out on the 14th. So the first full moon, the January full moon, is the wolf moon. And it's called that in a lot of different cultures. Like
Mm-hmm.
not it's frost moon some places. There's a lot of different names for it, but the wolf moon is very common, and it's
Mm-hmm.
because this is the time of the year that the wolves are howling because they're hungry. Poor wolfies. I
Poor
know.
wolves.
But it also, so there's an energy about it. As
Mm-hmm.
we've just moved past Yule, the days are starting to finally get a little bit longer. But it's still like January is still the dark time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
It's it doesn't feel like it's getting lighter quickly yet at this
Right.
point.
Yeah.
And the sun won't rise at 7 a.m. until February 24th,
Oh,
which every year that's the day that it rises at 7 a.m. or
I didn't
7:01.
I didn't know
Isn't
that.
that amazing? That's my
That is
birthday.
amazing.
Yeah. And it's of course only like where we're at. I'm sure
Right.
that
Yeah,
depending on where you
obviously.
live, and it's blah blah. Anyway, but this is because it's the cozy time. It's the
Mm-hmm.
hygge time. It's time to
Mm-hmm.
be cozy. It's time to stay warm. It's time to really draw your chosen family close
Mm-hmm.
and have that warmth and that connection. It's a time of creating intentions. As you sit in the darkness and you're looking towards the light, it's a time of transformation. It's a time to shed old habits that are no longer serving you. And it's an opportunity to manifest what you want in the new year. It's an opportunity for personal growth. And I think that's I mean, that's something that everyone does with their New Year's resolutions and their New Year's
Yeah.
goals and setting
Yeah.
intentions. And it's a very deliberately this time of year. It's
Mm-hmm.
not because January 1st is arbitrarily like, ooh, that's our new year.
Right.
I think if our new year started on July 1st, we would still be doing our goals and our resolutions this time of year because it's a
Right.
time of transformation.
Yes, and it's a very sort of introspective time. It's dark. It's just where you kind of turn in and start thinking about the changes you want to make as the world warms up. Um,
Mm-hmm.
might be different like in Australia or something
Oh,
where
I'm
you're
sure.
on the other side. So, but I think it very much has to do with the temperature and the light. It just
I'd be,
brings that
I'm sorry.
natural sort of change. Yeah.
Well, I'm just really interested now in doing a little bit more research into like how it feels in the Southern Hemisphere, particularly as you go further and further south
Mm-hmm.
in the Southern Hemisphere, because obviously it's New Year's, it starts January 1st
Right.
for every place that uses that month system.
Right.
Um, but winter solstice is June in
Right.
the Southern Hemisphere.
So they're
And you talk about it
celebrating
being the
summer
dark.
solstice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At the
Yes,
time we're
that's,
doing winter.
yes,
So,
yeah. But then, like, you have that cold time of the year, which really feels like a time of introspection and
mm-hmm.
transformation. But what if you live in a place where it's never cold?
Yeah.
Like, like now I have so many research things
Oh, yeah.
to
This
research.
really makes me wonder, like, because, we have this natural rhythm that our bodies go through that's based on the light and whatever. But what if you're at the equator and it's always the same, like amount of light, really, How,
Okay, so if you live at the equator or if you're in the southern hemisphere and this is something that you ascribe to, please let us know how you practice and what this means to you. If you
yeah.
go with like what kind of cycle you follow.
Yeah. And if you live in the southern hemisphere and you're celebrating the first of the year in the middle of summer, tell us what that's like. Like, is that the time for you that's introspective, or do you feel more introspective in the winter time, which is our summer? It's really curious now. Super
This is why I
curious.
need somebody to sit right next to me so I can say, write this down.
I
But
know.
I don't have that.
We're
And
gonna be
so far,
we're gonna be super famous and it'll be fine. We'll have that and they can do the notes for us and actually
I
make us.
offered to give my daughter money to do this, and she did not think I was going to pay her enough. So,
Oh, well, that is
yeah.
really disappointing.
So since we're talking about transformation and intentions and
Yeah.
manifestation,
Hmm.
like what what are your energetic goals for this next year? What do you
Hmm.
want to manifest over the
Um,
next few 12 months or so?
well, I am focusing it's all about the cozy this year for me. Like I'm really leaning into that cozy vibe. But also sort of the word that came to me was thrive. Like I mentioned earlier that I have been disabled for the past 3 years, and it was kind of something that I thought was going to be temporary because it was caused by a surgery. And I thought, oh, I'll be back to normal, whatever that is. Um, and so I think I just put a lot of my life on hold because I am very limited in what I can do. So I just kept putting things to the side and I'll do those things when I'm normal. Again, I'm doing air quotes if you're listening to this on a podcast. What my focus this year is to learn to thrive how I am right now and to find ways to do the things that I want to do in life without waiting until that perfect time when I feel 100% again. Um, and I have worked on that a bit in the past, but I think this year that's just kind of going to be a little bit of a focus for me to to learn to live my life in a different way and work with it instead of being frustrated by it all the time. So that's my goal.
I love that so much for you.
Yeah.
Um, and then we can travel.
Yes. I really want to figure out a way. It may involve a lot of drugs. And by drugs, I mean medications that are perfectly legal and assigned by my doctor, prescribed by my doctor. But
That's cool. I don't have any good drugs to give you anyway because my medication that is prescribed to me by my doctor is like, oh, yeah, it helps you. In case you are prone to be manic on airplanes, I could maybe help you out, but
yeah,
that's about
I
it.
mean, I do occasionally get a little anxious on airplanes, but that I don't think that's going to help the muscle spasms. So,
No, I don't even, yeah, it's just
yeah.
boring old psych drugs. Um, Not even the kind anybody would steal. It's like,
How boring. How
I
boring.
know, right?
How boring for you.
So boring for me.
So tell me
Um,
what's your energetic goal for the new year?
I so I wear a lot of hats, most
Mm.
of them not literal hats, although I had a dream that my that my whole outlook, the whole style that I wanted to give out into the world, and I know I talked to you about this
Yeah.
too, was
Mm-hmm.
dresses and
Yeah.
hats. And so maybe I need more hats.
Maybe.
Uh, wow, that's not where I meant to go with that. Okay. So I have a day job
Mm-hmm.
that I work at 40 hours a week, and I have a almost teenager, and I am an author. As well as I do some freelance editing. Not very much anymore because of the
Like,
aforementioned
when
other
would you
things.
do that?
And my partner lives in Portugal. And so it is me and my kid here most of the time, just the two of us. She visits her dad sometimes, but like that's a lot of things
That
that I
is a
have
lot of
going on.
things.
And I like health insurance, which is why I have a day job, and I like my daughter to finish middle school, which is why I don't live in Portugal right now.
Mm.
But my goal for this year is really to find the balance,
Mm-hmm.
because I have a problem with all or nothing and just going too hard, and trying to do 100% my best at everything that I do.
Mm.
And what happened in 2024 is I hit a wall and I
Yeah.
couldn't do anything well at that point,
Yeah.
because it's going from trying to be an A plus student, valedictorian of life, to basically not quite failing out of life, but like I'm wearing my dunce hats sitting in the corner, part of life. And I need to not live my life that way anymore.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have published 35 books in the last 8 years, while working full time, and mothering full time.
That is very
And
impressive.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
And for a while, I was also freelancing pretty much full time.
Wow.
So there's a lot of stuff that goes on.
Yeah.
And I need to find that balance in my life so that I can do the things that are either things that bring me joy
Mm-hmm.
or things that bring me cash money.
Cash money is good.
Um,
I like
yeah,
cash money.
day job specifically is, but without trying to be the valedictorian of anything.
Mm.
Like I want to write my books and I want them to be done
Mm-hmm.
instead of perfect.
Yeah.
I want to meet the expectations that my bosses have for me at work so that they continue to give me money and
Mm-hmm.
insurance, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to exceed expectations. And
Yeah.
I probably should continue to try to do a real good job of parenting, honestly.
I mean,
Like that
probably,
seems
yeah.
important.
It seems like a thing that you should do. Probably.
Yeah, I mean, she'll be 13 soon, so at that point, I'm just gonna
You could just
send
turn
her out
her
into the
loose
world.
and let her be
Fly
feral.
away, little bird, fly away. Um, but like balance is my big word for this year.
I love
I
it.
burned out so hard in
Yeah.
2024.
Yeah.
And I need to find that balance and be able to navigate through all of the things that I have on my plate right now,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that in a year or year and a half, uh, I'm going to live in a different place. I'm going to be in a different place, both mentally and spiritually and physically.
Mm-hmm.
And just looking for that balance as I get through 2025.
Awesome.
But
Love
also
that.
cash money.
Cash,
More cash
yeah,
money.
I mean, cash money is definitely, I'm manifesting a great deal of cash money because, I want to travel and I want to do it in comfort.
Yes, I love travel. That's my indulgence.
Yeah.
My like I would rather travel than like almost any other non-necessary travel expense category.
Hmm.
Also crystals though. This podcast has really brought home how I need to expand my collection.
Same. It's all these
Yeah.
people out there. It's all our listeners' fault. We do this for you out of love.
Yeah, yeah. I'm shopping for you guys.
Which that whole thing segues right into our second topic, which is today's beverage of choice. And that
Booze.
booze, yes. So this is a boozy restoring chocolate Lux.
It
And
even sounds cozy, right?
it totally sounds cozy, and we're drinking it now, and it super is cozy. Mm. It's very tasty. Um, since it's winter and it's freaking cold, and rainy and just gloomy, we decided to go with this warm, cozy thing. That's kind of the theme. So we're embracing now see if I can say it, the hygge of it all.
Huga, Huga. Like
Hygge.
I'm not Scandinavian enough for this, I've decided.
I'm not okay. I have like a little bit of Scandinavian in me, but definitely not enough to pronounce it properly. But I'm going to embrace the vibe anyway, because I'm all about that vibe. So basically, the ingredients are just super simple. We'll throw the recipe up in the show notes, but it's milk of your choice, unsweetened cocoa powder, semi-sweet chocolate chips, or in my case, I didn't have any. I was shockingly out of them, so I just used some chocolate from a dark chocolate bar, sugar, salt, vanilla syrup, and your choice of booze. I went with whiskey.
As
Well,
did I.
technically
And
bourbon in
I
my
didn't
case,
have
but
vanilla syrup, so I used, which was surprising. So I put caramel syrup in mine, and it works with the whiskey so well.
nice.
Just saying.
Nice. Um, I have some fancy like vanilla syrup that's like from Korea because I was looking for like um a vanilla syrup that was sugar free um for my partner, and this popped up, and it doesn't have that weird aftertaste, and it's from Korea. I don't know,
Awesome.
but it tastes delicious. So but yeah, so we've got this is a really, really great drink for this time of year because you've got the magical properties of chocolate, which is all about love, happiness, prosperity, positive energy. Um, you've got the milk, and milk is just about life and health and healing and renewal. And vanilla is calming. It's about personal empowerment, good luck, love. And the caramel was
Caramel is protection and cleansing, but also
yes.
like self-love, self-care,
Ooh, that's
which
important.
I made the choice for the caramel before I looked up the properties because I thought it would taste really good with the whiskey, honestly. And I'm so pleased that it's that self-care
Mm,
is I should can drink some caramel stuff every day,
love it.
apparently.
Yeah, just for self-care. It's all about
Just for
self-care.
self-care.
Sugar attracts love, luck, and positive energies.
Yay.
And the alcohol, depending on the alcohol you use, can kind of tweak the power. It's like vodka is for resilience and bonding. So it's really good for that. And then, but whiskey is about promoting change and transformation, which is really great for what we're doing here.
I feel like that's just coming through our theme today. Um,
Definitely. That seems to be the theme. I didn't know that was a theme, but that seems to be coming through. But
we planned the theme and wrote the whole script
mm,
based around this
oh
theme,
yeah, totally. We
and it's
did.
not an accident that it turned out this way. It's a happy little accident. We're Bob
Happy little
Rossing it.
accident, yes. But it is a really tasty drink. If you like a hot chocolate and you like a little boozy. Now, if you don't want booze in it, just leave the booze out. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's still tasty. It's got a sweetness to it. It's really rich. Now, I used oat milk in mine because that's what I had on hand, and it's really tasty. So, highly recommend it for a cozy evening of manifesting or book reading or
Yeah, I might go
whatever.
manifest some more whiskey after we're done recording.
I know, right? Speaking of not whiskey, but book reading, uh, we agreed to read Butter Witch
Yes, by Tess Lake.
by Tess Lake.
And
So
oh my God, I I loved this book so much. I tore through it so
I know
fast.
you're like, I just finished it, and I'm like, I'm only halfway through.
I didn't get anything else done that day, but I sure read a book.
I think I was up to like 2 a.m. finishing it. Yeah. So
It
it
was really fun. I loved
so
it.
good. I can't even remember who recommended it. Somebody recommended it to me. And like I was like, wait, butter witch? Okay, what kind of witch butter what? So I'm just gonna read the blurb really quickly. It says the International Butter Festival has come to town when Harlow Torrent, part-time journalist and full-time slip witch, stumbles on a dead body, frozen and drained of blood. She's pulled into a murder mystery. So I just love it because okay, for one thing, a butter carving contest is like I, I'm sure they really exist, but that was like the
Oh,
weirdest thing to
oh,
me.
they do. Oh, they
Carves
do.
butter.
I don't know if it's as intense in real life as it is in like this book where it's a very
It's
intense
very
competitive
intense.
carving circuit.
I mean,
Um,
there's like chainsaws involved.
I've never been to a butter carving festival because they don't come up that often in my life. Although now I kind of want to see if there's
I
one
know.
local to us.
Like, I mean, we
Um,
do have the Tillamook cheese factory and they make butter, so maybe over there there's I don't know.
I'll have to go. I'll have to go do some research because also there's cheese. So even
Yeah,
if there's no butter carving, at
there's at
least
least
cheese
cheese. I
and
mean,
ice cream.
yeah.
No, let's not get sidetracked.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the book.
But and I thought it was fun too because this is the first time that I mean I think she must have invented it for this book. I'd never heard of a slip witch before, but it was really interesting how she kind of used it. So most witches are one thing or another, but a slip witch is really rare, and that's what she is. And kind of like her power comes and goes, and she has different powers at different times, but they can disappear when it's
And
very inconvenient.
they can be very powerful too, like
Right,
dangerously powerful.
right.
Because if you're not expecting to have this power and you don't really understand what's going on right away, then having this sudden influx of huge power that you don't necessarily know how to use
Mm,
is dangerous. And that was really hinted at a lot in the book
yeah.
in a way that I'm hoping we learn more about her past.
Yes. Yes,
I'm
because
sure we
this
will
is
as the
a
series goes on.
yeah, this is a series, and I think there's 5 books, four or 5 books. I can't
I
remember.
think it's 5. I certainly have the second one on my Kindle already.
So do I.
And if that's not a recommendation, I don't know what
I
is.
don't know what is, but I would definitely give this like, I mean, just for pure fun, ease of reading. It is just such a joy to read. I'd give it 5 stars. It's well written and super fun and very easy to read. And there's a really hot guy. Well, there's a few hot guys apparently if you're into that sort of thing. Love
I need to
interests
go to the
that
seaside town full of hot men
I
and
know.
magic
Like for
and
this
butter.
I find it really kind of amusing that here you have this supposedly dying seaside town and yet there's all these hot men.
That's the fantasy part.
Clearly, because I've been to dying seaside towns. They- there is I didn't find that to be the case.
I gotta tell you that my favorite character, who like isn't anyway a main character, isn't one of the Torrent family, which is the protagonist family,
Mhm.
ancient family of witches, is the mayor of the town.
Oh my gosh,
Like,
he's so
I can't remember
funny.
his name, but he
I,
is ridiculous.
I mean,
And
he's so damn funny. Oh,
the way that his character has been created as like
mhm.
somebody who wouldn't have to be a well-developed character, and
Right.
just everything that's gone into him. And he's like completely bananas.
He,
Like he's like this rock star mayor. Like, and I
yeah.
mean rock star like almost literally.
Yeah.
Like and he like people are like, yeah, butter, because he's like, let's do butter. They're like, yeah, I'm like,
Like, yeah, better. And the fact that everybody just goes along with like whatever he weird thing he dreams up because
uh-huh.
he's just so dynamic and like
Do you think he's magic? Like, do you think he's got like some kind of influencing power?
I mean they haven't indicated that that's the case, but I do wonder if he doesn't. Or I mean, I suppose he could just be a really weird dynamic human
I
person.
mean, anything is possible.
But but
Butter!
I to read that like 3 times.
You guys have to go read this book just so you can get to the butter
Butter.
part.
Oh, it's great. I highly recommend it. I wish I could remember who told me to read it, but it was
If it
really
was
good.
you, let us know in the comments.
Yeah. I have a feeling it was, well, it was one of my author friends, but I don't remember who. So now we're just gonna gently segue from butter into an oracle card. So one of the things we're going to do is pull an oracle card every time, or a tarot card. Do you want to tell us about the deck and pull a card and tell us about the card?
Absolutely. And it's really hard. Well, if you're listening, you certainly can't see what I'm doing.
Right.
So I'll make sure the images and the information will be on our social media and everything. But it's called the Enchanted Spell Oracle. It's a medieval hedge witch magic
Super
oracle
cool.
deck, and it's so gorgeous, and it is another, like we talked about earlier. It's very much like centered in the Celtic
Mm.
mythology world, um, and it's a lot about herbs. And you probably love this because it's got a lot of herbs and like recipes and stuff in it.
Ooh, I love
And
a
she
good
has kitchen
recipe.
witch. And I'm more like a outdoor green witch,
Mm.
not growing indoor plants. Sorry, plants upstairs. Um, but I mean, it's a beautiful deck, and it's kind of very seasonal too. So there's a lot of cards and like the associated with the seasons and woods that go with them.
Hmm.
So there's like an oak card and an ash card, and kind of the powers that come into that. And it's really well illustrated. It's very much in the I'm gonna, if you are watching on YouTube, maybe you can see that. It's very kind of illuminated esque.
Mm.
So I love this deck. It is I by somebody named Priestess Moon, which I'm assuming is a pseudonym.
Or their parents had a very creative way of naming them.
Yes, they were conceived at Woodstock. Um,
It's possible.
but I mean that's the name. Like, who among us doesn't have a pen name? Not us.
Not us.
Not us. But I've met people who do.
Mm,
So it's a thing that could happen.
totally.
So the card that I pulled today is Solitude.
Ooh.
Oh my God, this is so beautiful. Um, there's like a goddess type
Ooh.
woman holding a big sword, and there's a golden eagle above her head, which is kind of haloed behind her.
Nice.
And it looks almost like there's standing stones
Mm.
behind her.
Hmm.
Um, and there's a language I don't read. It's Oh God. Of course, this is the one that has words that I cannot accurately pronounce. So we're gonna go with Xanthropomelia. It is a curious little being, not quite algae and not quite fungus. It's an expert in living in tough conditions, growing on rocks where no other plant can thrive. It can be inactive for long stretches of time. It teaches us, oh, it's lichen.
Oh,
I was
okay.
like, what's
Well,
a lichen? What's a lichen? It's lichen. It's like a
like it.
lichen. And I'm like, oh, I can't pronounce that. So I went with the harder one to pronounce. Anyway, it's lichen. Maybe I'll just cut all of that out. I probably won't. People can laugh at me. I'm cool with it. So it's time to honor the hermit because lichen can teach us that solitude is necessary, and we need to gather the pieces of ourselves. We need to study. We need to practice silence so that we can join the world again with renewed power. And I mean, again, I did not choose this card at the time. This is the one I just pulled from the deck, but it really goes with everything else that we've been saying throughout today.
Yeah.
Transformation, finding those
Hmm.
bits of yourself to rebuild. Um, it is a sacred stone circle, and the stones are covered in lichen. And there's an eagle which flies alone, and it's the words are Gaelic, Scottish Gaelic, and it says "fortunate girl."
Mm.
And so it's this energy to embark on years of training to become a wise woman of
Oh,
strength and magic.
that's awesome.
And so it says when it's in held in a divination context, it's a spiritual voyage for great reward and revelation. It's a quest. It brings you courage. It brings spiritual insight, and it's a time to start looking into yourself so that you can move forward. So you can
Mm.
start that journey.
So perfect.
So the good way to like really bring this into yourself is if you are able, and this is something you can do, is to go for a walk in nature, or else just to surround yourself wherever you're at with things that are found in nature. So
Love
hug a
it.
houseplant or whatever. Um, so it's very much nature is very much spiritual journey,
Mhm.
manifestation, strength, transformation.
Awesome. So
I
very
love that for
perfect for
us.
this. Yes, I love it. So, basically we just you're going to drop the link for the deck so people can check out the deck and the link for the for the Butter Witch in the show notes.
Yield show notes. Yep.
Ye old show notes. And we'll drop the recipe in there. And where can they find out more about us, Cliffhangers and Cocktails, and the Caftan Coven, and Amy Sissel and Shan McLeod?
Well, we all shockingly have websites and Instagram accounts.
Woohoo!
Cliffhangers and Cocktails is at Cliffhangers and Cocktails
Mhm.
on Instagram. We have a newsletter that you
Mhm.
can sign up for, and that link is also in our show notes. And
Yeah.
we have a YouTube channel that you can follow. And sometimes if you're following that, you'll get and you've if you've chosen to be notified when we do new stuff, there may be random live casts that show up.
Yes.
No promises at this point on the date, but we hang out often enough that we might just decide, oh, you know what we should do right now? We should talk to the world,
Yeah,
show them what wine we're drinking or whatever.
exactly.
So, and please
Yes.
subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening to this, if it's on YouTube or if it's on one of the podcast subscriber
Yeah.
providers like
Provider.
Spotify or Apple Pods or
Yeah.
whatever, wherever you're listening.
And don't forget to
Subscribe.
smash the like button.
Gotta smash that like button. Rate us 5 stars. Say, oh, this was
Yes.
awesome. Share us with your friends and family.
Yes, please,
Um,
please.
please share. And it's just been super fun to
Yes.
like talk about this stuff and be able to share our wise woman knowledge.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us on our very first inaugural pilot episode of Cliffhangers and Cocktails.
Captain Coven production.
Woohoo! Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.